Today, Sony has released the new A6700, and at this point, if you're just looking for a high-quality, budget-friendly 4K 422 hybrid video photo camera, just close your eyes and point. The A6700 is the much-needed upgrade within the A6000 mirrorless lineup of cameras. The A6000 series has been a popular series from Sony due to its lightweight compact size and impressive features. And with the A6700, the A6000 legacy continues. Fans of the A6000 series have been waiting over 4 years for a solid upgrade to this lineup, and with the A6700, Sony certainly delivers. But is it good enough for first-time wedding filmmakers? So let's dive into the overall specs that really matter for this camera. First, you have the same sensor as the Sony FX30 with a 26.1 megapixel APS-C BSI CMOS sensor.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
You're getting 6K oversampled. You do have 4K at 60 at 10-bit 422, as well as 4K 120 frames a second with a 1.6 times crop. The A6700 comes with S-Cinetone and S-Log 3, giving you the consistency to match other Sony cameras, as well as LUT support so that you can add in a Rec 709 so that you can easily navigate shooting in log. It doesn't, however, have Cine EI mode, which is famously in the FX30 and FX3. But with LUT support, that's not much of a deal breaker. It has 5-axis image stabilization for all of my handheld filmmakers out there, and an improved menu system, especially from its predecessor. And this camera also has some incredible photography specs as well, including improved autofocus with advanced subject recognition, real-time tracking, auto framing that is available in the ZV-E1, and the ability to shoot time lapses inside the camera. When it comes to the release of this camera, you can't deny that you're getting some insane value and impressive features for the price tag. But, and this is a big but, when it comes to wedding filmmakers looking for a reliable option, I don't believe that this camera should be considered as your main go-to. Instead, if you're in the wedding filmmaking space and you're looking for a solid upgrade, I recommend spending the extra $400, $500 on the FX30, since it has more professional video focused features and overall reliability. Because the A6700 with all of its impressive features will certainly overheat on you, especially in those hot summer days, that direct sunlight. While you can certainly get some quality use out of it on a wedding day, I don't think that this should be the only camera that you rely on, or it being your only solution. So it also just depends on your needs and your style of shooting. If you're a photographer first and you want a solid option that has some awesome video features, and you also have a limited budget, then this camera is going to be a great option. Overheating in any camera is certainly risky, especially if you are in the business of live events, and especially weddings. It's always best to find a reliable solution that is built for video. Now, I'm not negating the impressiveness and solid video features and photo features that this camera holds, because the A6700 is definitely a camera that deserves attention and consideration because it is a long-awaited upgrade from the A6600. Watching other videos and other filmmakers showcasing this camera, it looks like the menu and the ergonomics of this camera has drastically improved from previous models. One of the features that I do love is the photo, video, and SNQ dial. It reminds me of the Sony A7 IV, which is one of my favorite features on this camera. The ability to switch between photo, video, and retain settings across those platforms is great. So essentially for the hybrid shooter, you have a lot of customization opportunities with this camera so that you can make your process super streamlined. Another important downside with this camera, and probably one that is going to be the deciding factor for a lot of you, is the SD card and HDMI outputs. While all the above features are super impressive and worth noting, when it comes to the professional setting, this one feature is super important, and that, of course, is dual SD cards. And since this one only has a single card, I wouldn't consider it a reliable solution for wedding filmmakers. Most professionals in the space really demand that redundancy and backup recording so that you can have that added protection and security on the wedding day, because there is nothing more just defeating and anxiety inducing than coming home, popping your SD card in the computer and looking at a failed SD card screen and having to spend so much money to try to recover all that. It just makes your life so much easier having dual SD cards and backup recording. Having dual SD card slots is not only smart, but it's just necessary, especially if you're working in any kind of professional setting. Diving into the HDMI, and if you've seen this camera, you probably know where I'm going with this because it's the micro HDMI input. One thing that I really disliked about the Canon R6 was the fact that it had a micro HDMI, and it wasn't as reliable as I found with my Sonys. The connection would constantly go in and out, and it was one of the most frustrating things, and no one really likes micro HDMI. But I understand from a production standpoint why they tend to put these micro HDMIs in these smaller form factor cameras. All in all, the A6700 is an impressive camera with an even more impressive price tag. Sony is definitely making it very difficult for the consumer because everywhere you turn, there is just an amazing camera that can really render some impressive results for you. It's just a matter of finding what's going to work best for you, what works for your budget, what's going to work for your workflow, all of those things. But for the question and topic of this video is, do I think it should be considered for wedding filmmakers? Well, no, not really. Due to the overheating concerns alone, I would just avoid this camera altogether and go with the FX30. Seeing that the FX30 is still within a comparable price point, it's only about $400 or $500 more, and you're getting a lot more video focused features and overall reliability. And then the single SD card is another factor that makes me rule out this camera altogether, as well as the micro HDMI port. But for someone who is a hobbyist photographer or videographer, someone who is looking for a lightweight, compact, budget-friendly travel camera, someone that is looking for maybe even a C camera for weddings, something to just help you get an additional angle during a ceremony or speeches, whatever the case is, I think this camera is still worth considering just because of the quality and the price point. Now, obviously, I don't have the camera in my hand. I haven't tested it out. So if you are considering this camera, I highly encourage you to do more research beyond this video and check out some other filmmakers who have really pushed this camera to its limits and tested it out even further. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked today's video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, keep creating and telling beautiful stories. Peace.